out of the nightmare abyss of the piney woods of East Texas. The Random Horror Show. The best in commentary and reviews in horror, sci-fi, fantasy, cult classics, and the obscure from film, television shows, and literature. Join our horror hostess, Keisha Lacey, as she is scary, but random, horrific, and funny. Last but not least, she will chill you to the bone.
Welcome back to the Random Horror Show. I am your horror hostess, Keisha Lacey, coming straight out of the spook, dank, rank, musty ass thing, what I call the piney woods of East Texas, which is the Iron Pine Curtain. Thank you all for joining me, and of course, here at the Random Horror Show, just commentate being silly and random with horror, science fiction, fantasy, cult classics, and the obscure in movies, television shows, literature, and our guests that drop in to talk to yours truly. Now, I have been literally on some like straight up cutthroat on this show. Like, this show is like literally giving me life. And if you are a fan of Marvel X-Men, I'm talking about X-Men 97. X-Men 97. I'm talking about, it gave me everything from horror, science fiction, a soap opera, you name it, you name it. But for those who are a little bit unfamiliar or know about the X-Men universe, we all know about the origins of how X-Men came about. Well, it started with Stan Lee and another comic writer and artist that has like really fleshed this out during the civil rights movement. We know that Professor X is Martin Luther King and Magneto is Malcolm X. And so it tells like everything from what was going on like during the civil rights era, where you had Charles Xavier, just like Martin Luther King, that's very peaceful, using nonviolence, until like Malcolm X, that is more of like, about the brotherhood. There's a lot of things about Malcolm X. I feel that a lot of people are misconstrued about him. And if y'all have watched Malcolm X, the movie, played by Denzel Washington, and have read up on Malcolm X for yourself, that Malcolm X, he turned his life into Islam. He made the trip to Mecca. He's also very, very well known and very famous for saying this very, profound, deep line. He said the black women and black children are the most unprotected people on the planet. And when you hear that, and it rings like so many dinner bells with that, it just shows like a lot of compassion that like Malcolm X like really had. He was more of, you could tell, I am a Malcolm, I roll with Malcolm. I love you, Martin Luther King, but with Malcolm X, that he promoted, more of like families of like, black history, black culture, to like build themselves, to like to be sustainable. He's seen a lot of issues that was going on in the black community also, and he was not afraid to point those things out. And sadly, he was assassinated by black people. Yes, I did say that, because in the beginning he was like talking about, separatism and things like that, but he said, in so many quotes that, I'm going to, let's go ahead and give, we're going to break bread with the white man. The Negro man and the white man break bread and sit at the table like that. And you seen like the reason why I resonate so much with Malcolm X is because a lot of times we've seen like the history. He was doing everything up under the sun. He been to jail and stuff, but he had that 180 in his life to where he like changed his whole life, and he like really influenced a lot of people. It's not wasn't about like guns and terror. He was on the terrorist FBI list also, and of course Martin Luther King was too, but he was like more painted as the bad guy. And that's the reason why I feel that I have like a more connection and more like with Magneto. And I do with Charles also, like Xavier. And then of course you have Martin Luther King, who was assassinated by black people, that he was nonviolence. But then there's some things about like Martin Luther King that has really resurfaced up and stuff. And yeah, I was just like, okay, but Martin Luther King was named after Martin Luther, which was who started the whole Protestant movement in Germany back in like the 1500s, and that's who he was named after. And you have like so many good points with Martin Luther King, but I'm gonna say it like this. There's some things that he was not great at. He did kind of dipped out a couple of times on Coretta and everything. He had his family, at the house while he's out there. And, if you can think about it, like with Malcolm X, he always had his wife, Betty Shabazz, and his children with him. And then, of course, you had Martin Luther King, who had like his children and his wife at home. And of course, they got received death threats and all kinds of stuff. But then I kind of look at it, I was like, you know what? Like, Malcolm X really did like was very protective of his wife and his family. So we can argue about that, or we can like sit there and think on that and everything, but that's besides the point of like to talk about like X-Men is because they are modeled like after these two slain civil rights, leaders. And I feel that like it was like a great step, and with Stan Lee and them projecting, this comic which is really revered and loved. And that was one of the things about this comic book. It's about like living together. Is tolerance really like in your mind, is it okay to be tolerant towards somebody? Because to me, it's like you tolerate rain, you tolerate the wind, you tolerate having a flat tire. But really, what the whole thing about this is that, like, throughout X-Men, I noticed that, like, the tolerance of like between humans and mutants, it grows exponentially, chaotic at times. But with the whole thing, we have like the cartoon that came out in the 90s. I love watching that. And then we have the movies that came out. But the difference is like with the movies and of course the cartoons, where we seen more of the characters interact, they actually have fun, they have happy times, versus you have the movies that was really gloom and doom and very depressing. But now when they came out with X-Men First Class, of like how Charles Xavier and we see Eric, aka Magneto, how they interact and how they were, I feel that those like kind of like those sequels, the prequels to like X-Men, I do have like, I like those because this is like how I actually like read the comic books of X-Men. They did fun stuff, which I'm going to be talking about like with X-Men 97. And let's go ahead and get started my spookies into this wonderful awesome podcast of like X-Men 97. Now, It is on Disney Plus, and you have like your original gangster dream team of Storm, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Wolverine, Storm, Rogue, Gambit. We love me some Gambit now. And also, one of the team members is Morph. Now, if you remember in the earlier X Men cartoons, you had Morph in there until something happened to Morph. Oh, Sinister, got him and it was crazy, you know what I'm saying? And then he just wasn't no more. And then, here there comes Jubilee, which became Wolverine's like little sister, protector and everything else. So it does start off like with the X-Men, Charles Xavier is gone. They think he's gone, but he come down, live differently. That the X-Men is like mourning, but they're trying to like pick up the pieces like after Charles's death. The guy who like pew pew pew, Charles, he's in prison. So there's a lot of like built in like complex stories like within this series right here. And then you had Magneto, and I'm gonna say it like this. Why did they make Magneto so damn fun? It is ridiculous for a fucking cartoon character to be that damn sexy, thirst trapping. And I was like sitting there with my tongue out and everything else. Magneto put a heartbeat in my penis. And I'm gonna tell you this why, because when they, during the first class movies, they had Michael Fassbender. And I was just like, he put a heartbeat in my panties and stuff. So I was just like, damn, Michael Fassbender, who played Eric Magneto in the first class movies, and then he's making me all activated and crazy. And then you have the animated version of Eric Magneto in X-Men 97 is doing the same freaking thing. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Shame on y'all. But I give y'all props. You know what I'm saying? I give you props for the movies to, cast Michael Fassbender because he is fucking gorgeous, and the person who drew Magneto so beautifully, like a perfect ass man, like love them shits right there. That's what you call a silver fox, a zaddy, and everything else. Baby, he was zaddy, zaddy, zaddy. And that costume he had and everything, it was interesting, but it was like, you know what? It's gonna give like some chest print. It's gonna give like a nice dick print and some ass prints. You know what I'm saying? So it's like kind of like Magneto's suit was giving me fall time men in like joggers or sweatpants, and it was giving me that. And fall sweatpants season on a man is one of my things that I like to look at. So but you have like a lot of things. That's what's going on. The team is sad. There's like this new character. He is a mutant. They're trying to like help him. There's like Sentinel, like technology. And then there's like this faction group that's just trying to kill and get rid of mutants, or like they're trying to, you know, give them, kind of like some human trafficking for like a lot of money. Um, they went in, they rescue the little dude, and Jubilee has a crush on him. So you get to see like something that you see in like a Days of Future Past, a little bit of that right there. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 busting fine ass Magneto. Now we are coming to realize that there has been something going on between Rogue and like Magneto. And she's all uncomfortable because, um, Rogue is a very strong, strong mutant. And, her powers absorb life force energy, and she can't touch Gambit. And Gambit really do love that girl. You got like swamp rat sexy like Gambit. Remy LeBeau. Like he is like like Gambit is like that cool ass. He like that cool ass fool. Like he is cool as shit. So, and then you got Rogue, and I always like the Rogue and Storm too. You know what I'm saying? Those are my girls right there. And she's like still, she loves him, but she's still on the fence because she killed him and stuff. So she's kind of like, letting Gambit know, like, some of us, kind of keeping some stuff in the secret in the clouds. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just getting juicy and good like a telenovela. You like it is giving me telenovela style with this. So now we have Jean and Scott, like finna have a baby. Everything is like nice and cool, and then all of a sudden there's some weird stuff going on. And she had the baby and everything, and then here come like the real Jean Grey come popping up. And then you got like other Jean Grey that had the baby and stuff, and she's like, oh no, that's the fake ass Jean. I'm the real Jean and all this shit right here. By this time, like Storm like already like left the X-Men because like there was like a situation that was going on during court. They was trying to do some bullshit, and Magneto was like, I'm gonna fuck y'all up and everything. But like he took him like all up in the air, and he's like, I can like really fuck y'all up. I can drop y'all. Y'all can die. But you know what? I'm gonna honor my friend Charles. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna honor my friend Charles because today is not the time. Magneto was like the shit. That is a real ass man right there for a cartoon character, okay? For a cartoon character. But you see, like he showed a lot of compassion because, like, whenever that ray hit Storm, that it took all away her powers. That really hurt his ass. Like no, like Storm is a good person. Like, yeah, we fought in battle and everything, but you hurt my girl. So yeah, it was like some real deep ass shit. That shit got real though. That shit got really real. So this is like the shit that got really, really real because we are like really like hitting in like mountains and hills and stuff like this. This is like really like the real great writing about like this show is because we see a lot of emotion. And then of course we find out that like the Jean Grey that actually had the baby by Scott is not even the real Jean Grey. It's actually a clone. And then I'm like sitting in my head, I was just like yelling at the TV and stuff. I was like, Scott Summers, Cyclops. You couldn't even tell that's like the fake Jean from the real Jean. I'm like, what was you hidden? You know what I'm saying? Like you should know, you should know her. You should know her very, very well. And you couldn't even tell the difference and everything. I'm like, damn, Scott, you wasn't hitting walls or nothing like that. Baby, you was slacking. You was slacking. But anyways, um, so we had like this little tit for tat going on. The real Jean Grey, she was under a lot of duress. Come to find out that the one that was cloned is actually was from old Sinister dude, with the little vampire teeth and shit like that. So she was like, all right, I'm gonna F all you X-Men up. So it actually turns into a horror film. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like some grade A plus TV right here, especially for an animated show. So the X-Men like battled it out and stuff, and they like found out, and then she turns into like her real true form, and she's like, I am the Green Goblin. And I was like, is that it? And that's when the X-Men should have said, like, is that it? Okay. Because I was like, you didn't even give yourself like any like theatrical name. You just went basic and plain with it. I'm just like, okay then. So she like flew on off, and then they got the baby and stuff. Baby, you know what I'm saying? And she's like fighting the X-Men, and then Jean finally like said, "Hey." helpful shit. We're gonna connect minds because me and you, we're the same and stuff. And come to find out, like, the baby was being infected with a virus, and because there was like these sinister plans, this was going to be happening to like different ass mutants and shit. So they finally like duped it out, and then she was like, "Yo, just give it up. What are you doing? You got this baby and stuff, and you don't need to be doing all this extra ass shit." The clone came to herself. She named herself Madeline, and it was like very very sad because you see that like she had to go give the baby up because Bishop was there too, so that was really cool to see Bishop. I forgot about him, but with his Tom Portland traveling ass. So Bishop went into the future to like help out baby Nathan because if he would stay here in this time, that he would die. So there's like many medicines and things like that to like help out Nathan in the future. And that was it. So you have the whole thing of Genosha. We love some Genosha and stuff. Genosha is like one of those islands with like all mutants just living in harmony. And I felt like, even like just building up to that, I felt that like some fucked up stuff was going to happen. It's got to be a freaking human and then a damn mutant behind the whole destruction of Genosha. We also see Cable that comes in, and we know that Cable is actually Nathan, and then he sees Madeline, his mom, and everything happens, destruction, damage, deaths, everything that's going on. This is like really like, just really like just pulling my heartstrings because it's always something about X-Men that, when you have that conflict, you have like people who do not like mutants, and there was like a lot of like uproar, especially with the humans. And then this destruction like happens. Meanwhile, we're gonna see like that part about Storm. Bro, I loved it to see the whole thing about Storm. She lost her powers. She was in Dallas, Texas. I was like, oh shit, Storm had to come down here and everything. I was like, she had to come to Texas to get her head straight. So she meets up with this guy, and they fall in love. And he's like indigenous Native American sexiness and everything else like that. And she has like this humanitarian part about her, but it was like a lot of fear because she lost her power, she lost who she was, and she's still trying to battle like her inner conflict about humans and then with mutants. And then there was like this spirit demon that was chasing her, and unfortunately it bit her like boo thing, and she was just like, oh shit. So she had to like go and help her boo thing, and she's very claustrophobic. We all know that Storm is very claustrophobic, and she had to like fight her will and her way and find herself, because guess what? Storm is actually a fucking goddess. She is a deity. To me, she's not mutant. She is a damn like living and walking deity. And she found that in herself. I mean, I loved it that they had the badass like mohawk that Storm always had. I love that look. And then of course she had her longer hair look and her uniform changed. I love like that about Storm because she always was like very beautiful, very statuesque, uh, just nothing but goddess. And she helped out her boothing and stuff, and I love it that they rode horses and he was telling her to ride a horse. And I was like, oh, that's so cute. You know what I'm saying? Like, she ride horses. But that's the thing that I like about this X-Men, is because it follows so much about like the comic books of like, you see X-Men like fall in love. It's just not them just fighting every day and stuff. You see them actually doing, regular people shit. They're playing basketball, they're going to the mall, they're falling in love, they're breaking hearts, all of that. I mean, what like what would this be the reason for us not to like love X-Men if they just only just fought and then just come back and then they just brood about like everything else. Everything is so serious and depressing like we've seen in the earlier X-Men movies in the 2000s. But that's the reason why you had X-Men First Class and all that. That was the prequels to like X-Men, to actually see X-Men in a different freaking light, and how like everything has like changed within different characters. Except for we don't claim the Dark Phoenix. We don't claim Dark Phoenix. That is a terrible ass movie. Very, very terrible ass movie. But we also see that there was like this wonderful backstory to Rogue and Magneto, how they met up and everything else. And he was the only one that can deliberately absorb her powers. It's not going to kill him. I mean, he was like, God dang, he handled that. She okay now. All right. I was like, look at you, Magneto. Okay, then look at you, Rogue. I was like, okay now. So I was just like, whoa, that like took me like that just like took me like out right there just to see something like that, because I was like, yes, because we want to know like what's that backstory with like Magneto and Rogue. And of course, when Rogue said, though we was in love and everything else, and she's seen, even though he absorbed her powers, and it didn't hurt him, but he also had nightmares because of him being a Holocaust survivor. And she's like, that's the part right there that I could not handle. He's magnificent, he's this and all of that. But she was like, that whole burden of him of like not getting over his trauma, and that still stays with him because that's literally a part of his character of why he is like that. And she's like, I can't deal with that. We meet, she's like, me and him are on a different level. And she was telling Gambit, just letting him know like what was the deal between both of them. And the really saddest part, and I literally did like shed a couple of tears, and I was like really hot and mad, especially with the destruction of Genosha, is that, Gambit, and then Magneto, and I was just like, no, because really, she do love the hell out of Gambit. And then, she still has feelings for Magneto. So, she's like caught up, I love that little love triangle thing with them. And I was just like so sad for Rogue. And like I said, that's really good writing, especially when you feel that emotion and you feel that crushing weight of seeing somebody that you love, two people that you love, being, destroyed by a sentinel, like a supercharged up sentinel, and you doing all what the fuck you can to like save them, and that bull crap happens. And I was like, damn, I feel for her. I was fighting air, I was mad, you know and I was like literally crushed, just like Rogue. And that, like I said, that is some good ass writing. Then you had like Rogue. Rogue was Rogan because she caught up with Captain America. And baby, I hollered when she caught that shield and she threw that damn shield all up in the mountains. I was like falling out laughing. Like, she wasn't even playing with Captain America. She wasn't playing with Steve. Like, she was like, I'm looking for these people who did this mess, destroyed Genosha. My boo things are gone. I'm hot, mad than fucking fried fish grease. That's a Southern girl. And you know what? She's ready to say bless your heart to many other people. And I'm not gonna say, she ain't gonna say bless your heart, but she gonna say the real you know what bless your heart means. You know what we mean is bless. Oh, bless your heart. You know, we just said fuck you. We know, you know, we said fuck you. So she went, and guess what? You have like that little crossover of like, you're like, God dang, like now we got like, you know, like Incredible Hulk, you know, situation, you know, going on right there. Like she was hot as hell. Baby, like if you pour water on her, she be balling it. You know, that's how hot she was. So we've seen like those crossovers, like with the Avenger, and then with two Avengers. Well, Incredible Hulk wasn't in there, but we've seen like from the premises of like part of that Hulk universe that was like crossover into like X-Men, which I would like. I thought that was like so freaking cool. But we find out who was really behind all of that. Bastion, probably pronounced his name, but there was some things that's like about Bastion that's like a mystery, and now we like found out. Joined by like Jean and Scott with their son Nathan, aka Cable. Some bull crap was going on, and guess what? You know, they're tearing regular people into like these sentinel mutants, and you know, for like the next evolution, you know, about it. And you know, they're like, whoa, this is some straight craziness right here. So they're trying to like stop what's going on in the future of the present. And it's like jaw dropping. It is nothing but like cliffhangers. It's a roller coaster ride. You got every type of like genre element. You got the drama, the telenovela, you know, soap opera, the horror, the science fiction, you have, you know, romance, you have death, you have all of these. I mean, even when I seen the Morlocks, I got happy seeing the Morlocks because you know those are the lesser, you know, mutants that lived in the sewers. And to see like the Morlocks getting majority of them destroyed, now that broke my heart. It really did. It broke my heart, you know, because I was very familiar with the Morlocks, you know, in the Saturday morning cartoons of X-Men. And then you see the Morlocks, you get so happy. And then all of a sudden, you know, their leader is gone. You just like, what? You know, you just like, what? This not supposed to happen, but it actually happens. But there is like some more episodes of like X-Men 97, and you know it's still continue on. It's on Disney Plus, and I just love like how they have really done a very excellent job of just creating, you know, this animated series of where it's like no bullshit. They're not really bullshitting, you know, on this animated series, and they're like really on the real. And I love how they're not, you know, just making it doom and gloom for like these characters. They making these characters like so like very rich and complex, to where you have like, you know, you can have a connection with them even though they're two-dimensional. And by the way, like I do like how they have the old series intro of X-Men, um, you know, presented in 97, because I was just so happy just to hear that. It's a little bit of tweaking and stuff, but they still like kept like majority of the intro to X-Men. And that is something that is a chef's kiss to me. I know I am 46 years old. I'm going to be almost 50, but I still love watching animation. And, you know, I haven't watched like anime in a long time, but it's just something about X-Men that is still, you know, very relevant to me, as much as like how the production and how they took their time of just the writing to the animation to, you know, the directing of the animation, and like how everything, you know, flows, even though there's like some the episodes may take you to a little bit more further into to the future, but it also brings you back so you're not confused of what's really going on. You can follow it so easily. It's like I give this like X-Men like 9.7. I know, right? 9.7 out of 10. The three, whatever. It's on Disney and stuff. I don't have Disney Plus. My daughter does. But thank you so much for joining me with this episode of X-Men 97. Just my take, my commentary, my thoughts on it, because of course, me just talking about it and everything, I just love talking about this show. But the show really does like just pack a wall up. I mean, it just does. Literally, it's like a nighttime soap opera or something like Falcon Crest. You can just tell by my age, Falcon Crest or Dallas or something. Or, it just got that mix of passions. And then, if you back in the day, I used to watch like telenovelas with my mom because she watched a lot of telenovelas. And you probably like, did she speak Spanish? Yes, she did. She spoke Spanish, but we're not Mexican, we're not Hispanic, but she spoke Spanish because, she married my sister's dad, and then she married my stepdad years later and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I straight up like watched telenovelas when I was younger, and it just gives me like that, oh my gosh, this is so badass. But thank you so much for joining me. I sure do appreciate y'all. You can find me on Instagram at the Random Horror Show, Facebook, and on YouTube. We have 3 more episodes of the Random Horror Show to close out for season 6. I am going to be relaxing. I'm going to be coming back during spooky season. And, I want everybody to take care of themselves. I'm not gone particularly, but I do need a break from this. And thank you so much for listening. And y'all have a great one.